Well, hello everyone, and it is afternoon. I'm getting pretty good at being this time of day, so it looks like this is going to be the time of day I'm going to be filming. Today I wanted to do an old southern favorite, pinto beans. I'm going to make some rice to go with it, but my way. And then we're going to do cornbread. So with this, what I've done, I've put 4 slices that I've cut in about 1-inch pieces and 1 small onion in the bottom of my pressure cooker. I'm sauteing that. Wanted to do a little bit more. I've rinsed my beans. I've got those cleaned up. I'm using a pound. Now, 1 pound is too much, you know, just for cornbread and rice and pinto beans for us, for 2 people. But tomorrow, I'm going to show you how you can take this recipe and take 1/3 of it and make refried beans out of it, as well as a very healthy dip that is similar to hummus. But, you know, hummus is made with chickpeas. This is going to be made with our pinto beans. The only thing that we're going to do is I've got 4 cups of broth, which I made out of my chicken stock. And you can, you know, make that as, you know, more intense if you want, or less intense, however way you want it to flavor your dish. Okay, and the other thing, I'm going to put a little bit of thyme in it. I'm going to put a little bit of cumin. And then garlic powder. And that's it for these. Now for the rice, I've rinsed my rice. I'm using a cup of rice to, well, 1 1/3 cups of stock. This is a Tex-Mati rice. It's like a basmati, and this is long grain. I use this 100% of the time. I love this stuff. It cooks up real good. It's not sticky, and it just works really well in almost any application you go to use it. And with that, I'm going to use stock. I'm going to use a little bit of salt. And then remember yesterday when we made our diced our veggies? I'm going to use that in the rice. So that will be very, very flavorful. Okay, so this is almost good enough. I brought it over here to this counter hoping that you could see this a little bit better. With it over there, it's so hard to see as it pops up. But you can see that. There it goes. Okay, I'll kill myself here. Another hot day here in Florida, but it's hot everywhere. And this is really nice and getting crisp, but that's going to stay in there just like that. Now the pinto beans, I've rinsed and drained, and they're going to go in here. Now there's a pound. And when I put these under pressure, I'm only going to do it for like 20 minutes because I don't want them to get too done to where, you know, the skins are off and they kind of disintegrate. I want them still to be nice and whole and not quite done. That way I can gauge how long I need to put it under pressure again or not. Because sometimes I just leave it off pressure and let it saute until it cooks down to exactly where I want it to be. Because the rice I'm making, the way I eat it, is I'm going to fix the rice almost like a rice pilaf, without the peas. It's going to have our veggies in it. But I like to have my my beans over my rice. I love that. And then we're going to make a nice pound of cornbread. Okay, so let's get this under pressure and we'll get our rice started. Okay, let's go ahead and get our thyme, our cumin, and our garlic. powder in there. And what I'm going to do is just a teaspoon, because we can always season this when we take it off of pressure and taste it. But I like to season it a little bit now, and I'm just going to shake this cumin just a tad, about 3 shakes, because it just seems to taste better. Now with the thyme, go careful over that, and I've got a half of a teaspoon of thyme. Just gives it a little bit of depth. That's about it. Now, I did tell you I've got a small onion that I quartered that I put in here to cook along with the bacon. So okay, here we go. I'll stir that up. And you want your liquid, because once you put your liquid in here, these beans are going to soak that up. So you want your liquid about, maybe an inch, inch and a half above the beans. It should be a little bit more than what I have in this 4-cup measure here. Let's get it all coated with that oil. You know how many times I've cooked beans in the past 30 years. And I don't know how many times, I don't even think I can count how many times I've scorched them on the stovetop. They're really good on the stovetop if you just simmer them for, a couple of hours. But many times I've let them go dry and they scorch and the whole pot is ruined. So with the advent of the pressure cooker, well, I've used pressure cookers for, oh my goodness. Well, I use the original pressure cooker that you used to put on the stovetop with the little jiggly weight on the top back in the early 90s, all the way through. But I never used it for like beans and things of that sort, mostly just for applications of meat, pot roast, that the long cooking items that a pressure cooker actually helps with. But now I use this thing for everything. I love it. Okay, let's get this in there and stir it up. Now I wouldn't salt these beans yet. There is sodium in this. Okay. There you go. All right, stir it up really good. Now what we're going to do, we're going to put this under pressure. Well, first I'm going to turn it off. Then I'm going to put it under pressure. It smells good already. That's just seasonings. Make sure everything's there. So pressure select, I'm just going to do it for 20 minutes. Take it down for 20 minutes. And it's ready to go. So we'll take that over to the side. Now, the same cup that I used for my beans, I'm going to take and put a teaspoon, this is just a half of a teaspoon here, a teaspoon of chicken stock. Also going to put garlic, a half a teaspoon of garlic powder. And that's it for that. Well, let me go ahead and put a half a teaspoon of this pink Himalayan salt in there. Because rice just benefits with, being cooked with seasonings and salt. And then what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to take my vegetables over to my pan, my pot. Turn this on. And then we're going to put, let's say about a cup, maybe a half a cup. Maybe about a half a cup. Because to me, the rice is actually the star of the show. I absolutely love rice. Okay, so our rice, I'm going to get our rice in there and get that toasting. Try not to skip this step. And also, try not to skip rinsing your rice. It just helps it. So, unless you want sticky rice. But if you rinse it really well, you're not going to have it to where it's so sticky and it just makes for a better a better dish. So let's get that our rice in here. Okay. So that was a cup of rice. This is a 2-cup measure, so I'm going to put about 1 3/4 cups. I'm going to wait until that toasts up. Now I did put about a 1/2 tablespoon of a 1/2 tablespoon of olive oil in that rice. Okay, let's see what we got here. Yeah, that's about right. Okay. So let's leave that the way it is right now. Let me get a clean spoon and mix this up with. This is going to be a pretty rice. I'll show it to you. Now this is a recipe. Let me show you how pretty this is. Can you see that? This you can make with shrimp and have a main, let that be your main dish for the evening or for lunch. But once that's done, you just take your shrimp, put your shrimp in there, turn the heat off, make sure the lid's still on, and cook that up for about 5 minutes. You've got a wonderful meal. Or you could take a ground turkey, hamburger, or shredded chicken, and do the same thing. If that meat's cooked. You can also cook the meat ahead of time and then add your vegetables and your rice on top of that and just continue on, and it will cook with the rice, and that's a good meal too. Okay, we'll let that go for a few minutes. This is so handy. You see what I did? I did, boom. If I had to, dice that up for that rice dish, I'd be cutting green peppers, red peppers, a poblano, tomatoes, a carrot, an onion, and the big mess. All I did was just take this out of the freezer, take it out of the bag, and put it in with my rice, and that's it. It just makes your job so much easier. Okay, I want to show you the rice. See how pretty that is? It's just now starting. It's just now starting to boil. So I'm going to put the lid on it. And I'm going to let it simmer, a soft simmer, for about 10 minutes with the lid on. And then I'm just going to turn it off, because it doesn't need, it's going to absorb, and I won't run the risk of overcooking it or burning it. So I'll bring it back. Okay, also, I'm going to bring the ingredients out for the cornbread. I've got my skillet with a little bit of vegetable oil in it that I'm going to put in the oven to preheat along with the oven to 425 degrees. I'm taking a little bit of our mixed vegetables that we diced, and I'm going to add that to the batter. Okay, I've got my cornbread ingredients all set out and ready to go. So I've got a cup of buttermilk, and I've got a 1/4 cup of, it's just regular, just vegetable oil, this canola oil, and the wet ingredients. The dry ingredients is a cup of all-purpose flour. There's a cup of this. This is the first time I've used this. It's Pearl Milling Company yellow cornmeal, and it's enriched and degerminated. And the ingredients on this is the cup of cornmeal, cup of flour, 4 tablespoons of sugar, 4 teaspoons of baking powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And then it calls for milk. I always use buttermilk. Here's my egg that's going to go in there, and the vegetable oil is already in there. And this is just my dry ingredients here. Let's stir those up really good because you want those very well incorporated. You know what's better than pinto beans, cornbread, and rice? I came close, very close, to cooking a piece of tenderloin, pork tenderloin, and with these beans. But then I thought, well, you know, I'm going to do what my mom and my sister, our beans just turned off, the way they made it with the bacon. And really, the bacon today isn't as fatty as it was in days gone by. You know, I can cook, and I don't use bacon a lot, I just don't. But what I did here, I put 4 slices of bacon in there, and I hardly had any bacon drippings at all. I didn't have to drain it or anything. Okay, so there's our dry ingredients. Oh, and I melted some butter. I'm going to pour that on top. My pan is in the 425-degree oven. It's going to be hot when I put the batter in it. So let's get our egg in there. And I'm not going to combine this until right before I put it in the pan, because with that baking powder in there, it's going to start leavening, rising, and I don't want to run the risk of it rising to the point where when I put it in there, it's not going to rise in the oven and it's going to come out hard. So be wary of stuff like that. Okay, may as well put our little diced veggies in there. This is going to be really good, guys. Now, what you can do too is throw some cheese in here. This recipe actually has an option for cheese and kernel corn that you could throw in there. Well, we had this, so I thought, you know, we're just going to go ahead and use that, which is scallions, onions, green peppers, poblano peppers, and an onion. We'll make it very, very tasty. And then we're going to pour the melted butter, which is about 2 tablespoons, on top before we put it in the oven. Okay, and I think it is at temperature. And our rice, I'm just going to turn that off now. It's, you know, it's done. Well, I mean, it's not done. It's done to the point where I can just leave the lid on, turn the heat off, and let it sit until dinner's ready, and then it's perfect. Okay, so let's get the... There we go. Oh, I don't know which is hotter, outside or that oven. Oh. Okay, and then there's vegetable oil in this pan. And one thing we did at the restaurant always, whenever you had a hot item, you kept that on the handle so people would know that it's hot and not to burn themselves. Okay, and you don't want to mix this up to where you're mixing it too much. Mix as little as possible to avoid it getting too, you know, just over mixed and hard. Invest in some of these little whisks like this. This goes a long way to keep it, getting it mixed up quick, and you're not beating it to death with like a spoon or a spatula. That Swedish dough hook, that works really well in mixing quick breads and cornbreads and things like that too. Oh, this looks great. Can't wait to eat this. It's been a long time since I've fixed cornbread and beans. It used to be a staple in our house. My parents were from the South, and they cook like that all the time. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let me get a spoon here. Let's get this in here. Now this is going to rise, so if you have more batter than you have pan, just don't put it all in there, because it calls for an 8-inch baking dish, and this is only a 6. So we'll see. There we go. There we go. That's pretty though, isn't it? Okay. So our melted butter, I'm just going to pour it right on top. And that will be awesome. Awesomeness. Okay, my hair, I washed it, it's still halfway wet, and it's just hanging. Okay. Out of the way. And there goes some of the butter. All right. And there we have it. Okay, let's check our, I'm not gonna have you listen to that while I take the pressure off of this. So I'll bring it back. You know, sometimes I surprise even myself. I just took the lid off of these beans. I only had them under pressure for 20 minutes, remember? And they're perfect. Absolutely perfect. I'm going to bring you over and show this to you. Hey, walk with me. Can you see those? Look at that. Absolutely perfect beans. Take it back, put you on the table. Did you enjoy that little walk? All right. Our cornbread's in the oven. Now, so in 20 minutes, we have our pinto beans are cooked. Our rice is pretty much done. It's just sitting there. And our cornbread's in the oven. So, I just want to show you. Those are really, really good. They don't need anything. So I thought I would use up that head of, a quarter of a head of cabbage that I had in the refrigerator. So I grated a carrot, make some coleslaw real quick. I've got 4 tablespoons of mayonnaise to 5 packets of equal, a half of a carrot, and I'm going to slice this up as fine as I can by hand. I used to use a food processor all the time to make this, but this is just so much easier, and it's just as good. Actually, my family prefers it made this way. There we go. And it makes quite a bit. It's just a quarter of a head. It's a very loose leaf cabbage head, too. But it's fed us a couple of meals since we had it. Cabbage lasts forever, as long as you keep it, lightly covered. You don't want to put it in a plastic bag and keep it covered tightly. It just will mildew on you. Give it some breathing room. Okay. Let's get this mixed up, and then that's it for the coleslaw. It took what? 60 seconds? Doesn't take long with coleslaw, and I love coleslaw. Do so much with it. And what I'll do is just take this just the way it is, pop it in the refrigerator until it's time to eat. And also grapes and craisins, things like that. Dried goes really, really good in coleslaw. Just takes it to another level. There you go. Okay. My hands. Okay, so I just took the cornbread out of the oven. Isn't it beautiful? There's a little pepper sticking up. Yeah, it came out really, really nice. So I'll be putting this meal together here in just a few minutes. Okay, so we've got us a feast. We have cornbread with a little pat of butter on top of it. We have pinto beans that were made in the pressure cooker. We have rice with our diced vegetables. We have coleslaw. And it looks awesome. But I wanted to show you this cornbread, how pretty it really is. Can you see that? 1 cup of flour, 1 cup of cornmeal, a cup of milk, a 1/4 cup of vegetable oil, And then I put in some diced veggies that we did yesterday. And then you're putting in 4 teaspoons of baking powder and 4 tablespoons of sugar. And I think that's close to being pretty much it. Doesn't take a lot. And you can adjust those seasonings as you see fit. Now, the beans, let me taste these. Let's just see what they taste like. I love rice and beans. Really good. The beans were the hard pinto beans. I used a pound of them. And I sauteed some bacon, 4 slices of bacon with a small onion. And then I put the beans in with 4 cups of chicken broth that I made with a granulated bouillon. And I cooked it for 20 minutes. Now you might want to take it up to 22, 23 minutes, play with it, because according to how many beans you're cooking to how much water, those minutes could vary. But I wouldn't take it to where it says 35 and 40 minutes, because that's just going to turn them to mush. And I want to use these tomorrow to make refried beans. And I'm going to make like a hummus, a type of a hummus out of pinto beans as a dip. The coleslaw, simple peasy, easy, simple. A little bit of cabbage, sliced very thin, a grated carrot, 4 tablespoons of mayonnaise, to 5 packets of equal. Mixed up, thrown in the refrigerator to chill. That's it. And then the rice was 1 cup of basmati rice, long grain, to 1 3/4 cup of broth. And the only thing that I did to the rice, let me show you how it looks. See how loose? Yeah, it's not sticky at all. It's so good. And you can put any veggies in there you want. But I had those that we dyed, so I just threw a few of those in there. The secret to rice, in my opinion, and I make rice a lot, you don't take it for the full 15 minutes at a boil or a simmer or whatever. I take it for 10 minutes. Well, first of all, I rinse the rice, put it in the pan or the pot with a little bit of oil, and then I saute that, maybe for a minute or two, not even that long. And then I put the liquid in it. But I let it simmer for about 10 minutes until I see the water is almost gone. I just turn it off and let it sit for another 10, 15 minutes, and you just can't beat it. So, there you have it. Let me taste our cornbread. Looks really good, doesn't it? Oh, it's amazing. But, the simple foods are the best foods. They're satisfying, they're filling, they're tasty, and they just don't take a lot to put together. I started filming this from scratch about 10 after 1. It's 1/4 till 3. And that's with me running my mouth, stopping and starting, and all that stuff. You could probably have all of this done in a half an hour. I'm sorry, no, an hour. Because it takes the beans at least 25 minutes, with releasing the pressure and all. And then the rice, it takes at least 20 minutes. And the cornbread takes at least 20 minutes. But by the time you get everything together and prepped, you're looking at probably 45 minutes to an hour. But you can have a full meal on the table in that amount of time, and it really be good for you. So I'm glad you stopped by today. And I hope that this heat's not getting to you like it is to us. I'm like damp now. My hair's wet. It's just really, really muggy. Hopefully we'll get a break from that in the next few days. But in the meantime, you take care of yourself, take care of your friends, your family, and your loved ones. And please check on your neighbors, because you never know what goes on behind closed doors and who may need you, because someday you may need them. With that being said, be kind to one another, and I'll see you tomorrow for yet another recipe. Goodbye for now.